We gotta get it started, man. It actually happened a couple days ago during media day. Dikembe Mutumbo passed away during brain cancer. That is literally my childhood. 58 years old, man. 58. I'm gonna miss this guy. I'm gonna start off with Blaze on this one.
I think one thing that a lot of people, talk about with Dikembe obviously is what he did on the court, but I'd like to take a second to talk about what he did off the court.
Yes.
Dikembe Mutombo was not one of those professional athletes that wore all the glamour and the expensive cars and the jewelry and all that stuff, living the life. He gave back. I don't have exact details, but I kept seeing report after report after report about how he was giving back to third world countries, just helping people with the money that he makes. And I think the lesson, regardless of your fame, is if you can take some of what you make when you're that highly paid and give back to as many people as you can, this world would be a much better place. But it's a shame that, most of them, well, they have their families and the people that work for them to take care of first of all, because, I've said this a million times, you have to remember each professional athlete is a corporation. They are the CEO of their own corporation. The rest of their family, all the people that work for them, the finances, the people that help them with their health and their, there's so many, their agents. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about how these are business entities, but they're human beings. And he showed his human side with a lot of his money by helping people. And I just wish more people, more professional athletes, movie stars, and a lot of them do, give back. But the amount that he gave back is what I kept hearing about over and over. And if you think about it, when was he ever, seen all dressed super snazzy and looks like, the guy, I'm sure he lived a good life as someone who was one of the best at what he did. And, we talk about international players too. So that as well, he was an amazing international player. So I just wish more people would give back. When you make millions and millions, yes, you're going to get taxed more. You're going to pay a lot of people because that work for you. But giving back is such a blessing. And I wanted to make sure that we will talk about some of his finest moments and what we love about him on the court. But we have to address what he did off the court as a human being. And my hat is off. No, I'm not wearing a hat. Hat is off to Dikembe Mutombo. More people should be like him when they got the wealth that he had.
So, Nikki, you got anything to say about Dikembe Mutombo?
Of course. I mean, Dikembe Mutombo, to evaluate on what Blaze said, here's a list of the things that he got involved in. He got the Dikembe Mutombo Foundation was meant to improve living conditions in Congo. He started that in the late 90s. He participated in the Basketball Without Borders program, which was meant to spread word of basketball throughout the continent of Africa alongside Sean Bradley, Malik Rose, and a few others. Then he got paid for the Zaire women's basketball team in the 96 Olympics. And then he's always been a supporter of the Special Olympics as well. And he received the humanitarian award from the Johns Hopkins Public Health Hospital in 2010 or 2011. These are just some of the accolades he accomplished for his humanitarian work and some of the things he did. So Dikembe Mutombo did a lot there, and he was a very respected person. He even got acknowledgement from George W. Bush back in 2007 at the State of the Union address, which goes to show a lot of people love Dikembe Mutombo, regardless of what they believe politically, who they supported. We all agree that Dikembe Mutombo was an outstanding human being outside of basketball. And while we're on the subject, we'll talk about the basketball a little bit. I mean, he was the most prolific and exciting shot blocker. In some of his highlights, he would block shots 2-3 times in a possession. Like, see, he would block one shot. The offense get the rebound. They try again. Try to pass it off to the next guy. Comes through. Nope. Try one more time. Nope. And then he created the finger wag. We all know that one, and we thank Dikembe for that. He's also one of the best defensive players of all time and an outstanding human being. Just, a phenomenal role model. It's a shame that it takes someone passing for us to recognize how great they were just with everything they did in their life. But Dikembe Mutombo, certainly someone that people should model themselves after, especially professional athletes or even average Joes, if you can be influenced to give back in some way, even if you don't have the money of a Dikembe Mutombo, you can be influenced to at least help out your community in some way, shape, or form. Give extra supply to your neighbors, something. That's one thing that everyone could take an influence from Dikembe Mutombo, regardless of how much money you have. Even though you're not going to be able to give back as much as he did, just doing something like doing a simple favor for your neighbors can go a long way. And that's one of the influences he had. And like I said, easily one of the greatest defensive players of all time. So rest in peace, Dikembe Mutombo. Salute to you. Phenomenal influence.
All right. Now, for me, like I said earlier, it's about my childhood. 2000 and 2001, when he got traded, Sixers actually traded for him from Theo Ratliff, who was actually funny, one of my neighbors at the time, actually kind of funny. And then I actually saw him get traded away with the truck, him driving away, so I saw that, kind of cool. But once we got Mutombo to keep one-on-one with Shaq, that dominant force next to that dominant force, did it really help? It was entertaining, but no, it did not really help at all. It was just to be in contention. But then, like these guys were saying, my guys that were talking about off the court stuff, that's basically what he was really known for as he was retired. Like, they still role model his game. Like Joel Embiid doing the Sixers media day, he was talking about how much influence that Dikembe Mutombo had on him. You can look at probably one of the best shot blockers in the league. Just all these guys, man. All these guys worship Mutombo. Great career and everything. So, R.I.P. Dikembe Mutombo. So, Blaze, if you got any moments on him on the court.
Yeah, I want to thank Nikki for doing a little research there and talking about exactly the things he gave back. So big shout out to Nikki for doing that, because I normally come very prepared with a lot of information. We're going to talk about rebounds later, and I did do research for that one. But big shout out to Nikki Steves for doing the research to give people a little more detail on exactly what he did. So as you saw, not just one area, he gave in so many areas. But on the court, I think of one moment. I think of 1994. The Nuggets played the number 1 seed Seattle Supersonics. They had no business winning that. And I just remember him on the ground with the basketball, so happy, and them taking out the number 1 seed. It was like his arrival to me. Later on with a couple other teams, and like you guys touched on too, the ability to shot block and rebound. And I'm looking at his career stats, 1,196 games. He averaged 9.8 points. I mean, he's not like the typical big-time scorer big man, but he was 10.3 rebounds a game, 1 assist a game, 51% field goal percentage, 68% free throw. But it's more about how it impacted the game, like Nikki touched on a little bit too. Getting multiple offensive rebounds, blocking people's shots right back at him 3 or 4 times in one trip down the court. That affects the game so big. And it's weird to compare, but I see a little bit of Wembanyama in him.
I was just about to say that.
In the length, the wingspan, and how big and lengthy he can be. And not only just, I mean, there's a lot of people in the world that have the height and have the wingspan and the length, but you got to be able to use it. And a lot of people, like Nikki and Mitch just so eloquently said earlier, man, people will model their game. When you're talking about shot blockers, rebounds, you look back at a Dikembe Mutombo, who, and I always think of his voice when he talks to that deep voice, he was so engaging. Like he was a teddy bear. So it was fun to listen to him because he was different, at the same time. And he brought such a unique style of the game. He didn't have to score 30 points a game to wow you. And I think that's a little bit of what's missing in today's game. And when we talk about rebounds later, you'll see how the evolution of the inside game or the big man game has changed.
Yep. Yeah, well, obviously we're going to talk about rebounding and all that, but there's just one more thing I got to say about Mutombo that not a lot of people are talking about. Is what the executives Like you look at Daryl Morey, you look at all these guys who hung around with Mutombo to work behind the scenes of the courts and stuff, really get to know Mutombo. It's not about the players, it's about the people behind what we don't see. It's more about that, the owners, the executives, and all that stuff. So shout out to them who really got to know Dikembe Mutombo.
That's a good point. When have you heard a bad word about Dikembe?
Never.
Like that's what you hear a lot of when you get professional athletes, they get in trouble, women, drugs, guns, you name it, drinking, partying. I can't remember ever hearing anything bad about Dikembe. He's a model NBA player, and shows that it's called the National Basketball Association, and people do have their say. It's like, why is it a world championship? Because everyone from the world comes to this league to play. You are a world champion and now more than ever, we talked about the Dream Team a couple shows ago. Look at all the international players that we have. This is a worldwide game, and I love it. NBA Asking is fantastic.